You are living in a ghost of your own life, a faded photograph of what you could be. Let that sink in. In my experience, most people are operating far, far below their true potential, sleeping through their own awakening. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say around 50%, maybe 51% on a good day. Think about that. Half your capacity, half your energy, half your talent, half your life. You feel the weight of that, don't you? That quiet, nagging voice that whispers, there has to be more. I often ask students, or anyone with the courage to be honest, one simple, devastating question. How much of your life do you simply give away? Not the time spent resting, not the time spent truly connecting, or laughing, or recharging your soul. That's sacred, that's fuel. I'm talking about the hours that slip through your fingers, doing things you don't even enjoy. The silent heist of your own potential. Hours spent scrolling through a highlight reel of other people's lives, watching videos that add no value to yours, procrastinating on the mission that calls your name, or just staring at a screen, numb, for no real reason at all. You know what I'm talking about. The answer I get, the true answer, when people are finally honest. Somewhere between 4 and 6 hours, every single day. And most of the time, they don't even realize the cemetery they're building with those hours. Let's take the low end. Let's say you waste just 4 hours a day. That's 28 hours a week. That's over 100 hours every month. That's more than 200 hours every single year. You know what that adds up to? About 6 full work months. Gone. Vaporized. Like it never even existed. But the real tragedy, the one that should keep you up at night, is not just about the hours. It's about what dies in those hours. That's time you could be learning, building, improving, creating. That's time you could use to start a business, learn a language, get in the best shape of your life, write that book, master a skill that changes everything, or even just think deeply, something we barely allow ourselves to do anymore. Instead, we give our attention away to things we don't care about, and sometimes to things that actively make us feel worse. Now let's break it down financially. Let's make it hurt. If your time is worth even $20 an hour, that's $100 a day, $700 a week, $2,800 a month, flushing down the drain. So the question is this, the one that changes everything. What would happen if you stopped? Not just a little, not just cutting back. What if you really committed? What if you looked at every single hour as a sacred building block for a future you're actually proud of? What if you took every opportunity seriously, treated each sunrise like a chance to gain ground instead of losing it? How much more powerful could you become? 2 times, 5 times, 10 times. You don't really know what your true capacity is because you've never stopped holding yourself back. Some people become so efficient, so focused, so clear-minded, it almost seems unreal, but they're not superhuman. They're just not wasting time anymore. They've aligned their habits with their destiny. This is where the Pareto principle comes in. The 80-20 rule. You know it. A small number of your efforts produce the majority of your results. But here's the deeper truth they don't tell you. A small number of focused people create the majority of the impact in this world. And you could be one of them, if you choose to be. So where do you start? What's the one skill that changes everything? The master key that unlocks the door to that 10x version of you? Writing. I can feel the hesitation, the letdown. Writing? That might not sound flashy. It doesn't have the glamour of a new business idea or the thrill of a viral post. But hear me out. This is not what you think. Writing isn't just about putting words on a page. That's like saying architecture is about piling bricks. No, writing is thinking, forced thinking. Clear writing is clear thinking, and clear thinking is the most powerful force you can harness in a confused world. Let that sink in. If you can write well, you can think well. If you can think well, you can act with purpose. You can cut through the noise. You can make decisions that aren't based on fear, but on clarity. You can solve problems that stump everyone else. You can influence. You can lead. The crazy part, the tragic part, most people go through years of school and no one ever explains why this actually matters. They're told to write essays for a grade, follow a format, pass a test. But no one sits you down and tells you the raw, unfiltered truth. You learn to write so you can learn to think. And thinking, real thinking, is what gives you the power to win at life. Think about that. People who can think clearly, speak persuasively, and write with purpose, they are unstoppable. They are the ones who lead the meetings. They explain the ideas that change companies. They challenge false beliefs and win. They negotiate better deals. They inspire movements. They build legacies. If you develop that one skill, no matter where you start from, no matter your background, your education, your past failures, you will not stay stuck. You will rise. I've met them. I've studied them. The people who became extraordinarily successful against all odds. And one thing rings true through all of them. They know how to communicate. You don't want to argue with them, not because they're aggressive, but because they're precise. They'll dismantle your ideas, not to hurt you, but to build something better. They don't attack people. They attack flawed thinking. That's the kind of sharpness you want. That's the kind of power that no one can ever take from you. And it starts here, by respecting your time, taking your potential seriously, and learning how to think. So, here's the bottom line. If your life isn't where you want it to be, I want you to do one thing, just one. Look at how you're spending your time. Really look, track it honestly for one day. Face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. You know it's true, right? You know where the leaks are, then start small. So small it feels like you're cheating. Cut 1 hour of waste each day, just one, and use that hour to build something. Write one paragraph, learn one new concept, train one skill. You don't have to change everything overnight. That's a trap. That's how you fail. But if you commit to using even a small part of your day intentionally, the effects compound. The gap between who you are and who you could be, it starts to close. And the more you close that gap, the more powerful you become. Not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. You are capable of so much more. But you have to stop letting your potential rot in the shadows of distraction and delay. You have to stop giving away your most valuable asset, your time, for nothing. Use it, build something, learn to write, learn to think, and then change your world. Imagine just for a moment a world where we all got our act together, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but honestly, earnestly. Imagine if people on a wide scale simply stopped making things worse, because here's the hard truth that might make you uncomfortable. Many people don't just fail to do what's good. They actively, consciously or not, contribute to making life harder. For themselves, for everyone around them. Why? Out of spite, out of resentment, out of arrogance, dishonesty, bitterness, or even a quiet, unacknowledged cruelty. Sometimes it's subtle, a snide comment that deflates a colleague, a passive-aggressive move that sabotages a relationship, a lie we tell to make ourselves look better. But sometimes it becomes something much darker, violence, destruction, even atrocities. Think about that. These traits, when bundled together, unchecked, they form something profoundly pathological, something capable of corrupting entire communities, even nations. Now, imagine if all of that stopped, if people, even without doing a single act of great good, simply stopped doing harm. We truly have no idea how much better things could get just from that one change. The absence of destruction itself would be a revolution. But this dynamic, it isn't just about grand acts of evil. It's woven into the fabric of our daily lives. It's the interplay between our vulnerability, the fear of judgment from others, and perhaps most importantly, our unwillingness to take on the responsibility we know we're meant to carry. You feel that, don't you? That weight you've been avoiding. It's not just that your own future depends on you stepping up. It's not just about your success, your growth, your healing. It's about everyone you're connected to. Because no matter how small you might feel in a sea of billions, you are not insignificant. You are a node in a network, a living, breathing connection point, and networks matter. Let that sink in. Over the course of your life, you'll meet thousands of people. You'll influence them through your words, your actions, your energy, your example. Each of those people will influence thousands more. Suddenly, you're just 1 or 2 degrees of separation from millions. That's not theory. That's math. That's how social structures actually work. And in our hyper-connected world, that influence is amplified. A single post, a single conversation, a single act of courage or cowardice. So when you choose to do good or simply choose not to do harm, it ripples. Like a stone dropped into a pond, your decisions send out waves you will never see. Someone will be affected, encouraged, discouraged, strengthened, or broken because of something you did or didn't do. And once you realize that, really feel it in your bones, the world starts to feel heavier. It starts to matter. And that can be terrifying, because if what you do actually counts, then you're no longer free to live as if nothing matters. You can no longer avoid responsibility by pretending your actions are inconsequential. And you might say, well, isn't that better than living a meaningless life? Sure, on the surface. But it's not that simple. When really given the choice, a terrifying number of people would rather embrace meaninglessness than responsibility. Why? Because if nothing matters, then you're free. You can't fail, you can't be blamed, you can't disappoint anyone. You can suffer, yes, but at least there's no burden to carry, no standard to live up to, no risk of letting the world down. That's the strange, seductive bargain of nihilism. Yes, it's miserable, but it comes with a twisted, comfortable passport to passivity. You don't have to act. You don't have to try. You can stay curled in your suffering and tell yourself there was no point anyway. And people will sympathize. They'll pity you. They'll say, yeah, life's just hard. It's meaningless. It's chaos. And suddenly, you've built an identity on powerlessness, on victimhood. You've taken the role of the martyr, and for some, that's a seductive position to be in. But here's the cost, the devastating hidden cost. You trade your potential for pity. You trade purpose for passivity. You trade a meaningful life for a tolerable one. And all the while, that emptiness inside you, it grows. It doesn't have to be this way. The opposite path is always available, and it starts with one simple, terrifying and liberating idea. Take responsibility. Start small. So small it seems insignificant. Clean up your room. Own your choices. Speak one hard truth. Act with one moment of courage. Carry your share of the weight. And then, when you're strong enough, help someone else carry theirs too. That's not easy. In fact, it's the hardest path there is. But it's also the only one that leads somewhere worth going. Alexander Solzhenitsyn discovered this the hard way. He endured the gulags of Soviet Russia, the very definition of hell on earth. And instead of coming out broken and bitter, he came out with a revelation. When individuals live lies, when they choose comfort over courage, and when enough people do that, they don't just ruin their own lives, they ruin the world. When people live pathologically, society itself becomes pathological. History has shown us this over and over. The 20th century is a gallery of horrors, totalitarian regimes, genocides, mass atrocities, all fueled by people who chose resentment over responsibility, who preferred power to truth, who passed off their own moral cowardice as someone else's fault. If you have the strength, read the Gulag Archipelago, not just to witness hell, but to understand how it's built. It's not constructed in a day. It's not the work of one villain. It's built slowly, brick, by ordinary people making 1,000 small decisions to avoid the truth, to betray their conscience. and to turn away from the weight they were born to carry. So you have to ask yourself, if your actions shape your life and your life shapes others, what kind of world are you helping to create? It starts with you, every single day. It starts with you. Choose meaning, choose truth, choose responsibility, even if it's heavy, especially when it's heavy, because the alternative isn't freedom. The alternative is a slow, comfortable decay. And you are not meant for decay. None of us are. Let's say you really, truly wanted the best for someone, not just in theory, not just a passive, I hope they do well, but in a serious, invested, all-in way. You wanted their life to go as well as it possibly could. What would that actually look like? To answer that, you'd have to do something most people never, ever do. You'd have to sit down in the silence and think, really think. You'd need to ask, what would their life need to look like, day to day, year to year, for things to be truly, deeply good for them? Not perfect, not easy, but meaningful, stable, fulfilling, worth living. And here's the twist, the heartbreaking twist. Most people don't do this for themselves. They don't sit down with their own life and say, all right, I've been given this one, precious, difficult thing. It's mine, so where do I want to take it? They drift, they react, they hope for a better wind, but they rarely plan, they rarely build. What if, instead, you took the time, your time, to really honestly figure it out? What if you asked yourself, 3 years from today, what would I need to have built to have what I truly need? Not everything, not fantasies, not the illusions sold to you, but the things that would be genuinely good for you. The kind of life you'd look back on and say, yes, this was worth the pain, worth the work. The truth is, you can't have everything, that's a given. Life doesn't work that way. But you can have what's good for you. You can build something meaningful. But first, you must define it. And that's where most people fall, forever. They never set the terms. They never decide what success would actually look like, feel like, be like. And if you don't define it, how could you possibly ever reach it? Success, by its very nature, is narrow, specific. It's like trying to hit the bullseye on a dartboard in a pitch-black room. If you don't even know what wall the board is on, the chance you hit the target by accident? 0. But here's the encouraging part, the part that should set your soul on fire. My experience has shown me, if people do figure out what would be good for them, if they sit down, take the brutal time, and make a clear decision, then aim at it honestly, consistently, they often get it. It's not a guarantee. Life throws curveballs, storms come. But there's something about orienting your entire being toward the good, toward what's right for you, that moves you closer, even when you stumble. Yes, the process is messy. You don't chart a straight line, you start with a goal, and as you move toward it, you learn. You adjust, you refine, you correct. Your aim changes, not because you were wrong, but because walking the path gives you better vision. You discover more about what you truly need along the way. But none of this works unless you start with a serious question. What do I want? And deeper, more profound than that, what would actually be good for me? Now listen closely. Wanting something in this context. This isn't daydreaming. This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't TID like this if the universe just handed it to me. No, real wanting is reorienting your entire life to make the goal achievable. It means changing your habits, your thinking, your circle, your environment. It means sacrificing the things that don't serve that goal. It means being willing to say no to 1,000 other good possibilities, so you can say yes to the one that actually matters. That's what it means to ask for something with your whole being, to want something with seriousness, not entitlement, but commitment. You're not just wishing, you're choosing, and you're proving it with your actions. That's a sacrificial idea because it implies limits. You can't have it all, but maybe, just maybe, you can have what you truly need. But first, you have to look in the mirror, and that's where it gets uncomfortable. Sit down, on your bed, in the silence, when you're completely alone, and ask yourself the question that echoes in the chambers of your soul. What stupid, repetitive, self-sabotaging things am I doing that are absolutely destroying my progress? Be honest. Not cruel, but surgical in your honesty. You already know the answer. Deep down in a place you're afraid to visit, you know what you're doing that's wrecking your future. It's not hidden, it's not mysterious, but we hide from it. We bury it under a mountain of distraction, excuses, and comfortable denial. But if you really ask that question, and you really want the answer, it will come. And when it comes, it won't be gentle. It might sting. It might embarrass you. But it will be true. And truth, even when it's painful, is your only reliable guide forward. The trick is, you have to want to know. You can't pretend to ask. You can't just mouth the words while secretly hoping the answer never comes. You have to decide that you are ready to face what's holding you back. And once you do, things can change fast, so fast it will shock you. This is where true transformation begins, not in motivation posters, not in fleeting inspiration, but in the quiet, courageous decision to face yourself fully, to define what's worth aiming at, and to start walking, even if it's slow, even if it's messy. Because the act of aiming, of adjusting, of sacrificing, that is where you begin to become the person you were always meant to be. So, here's where this all leads. This isn't theory, this isn't philosophy, this is about you, your life, the one life you get, and what you choose to do with it. At some point, and that point is now, you have to stop standing at the edge of your potential and step into it. Not perfectly, not all at once, but deliberately, step by step, decision by decision. Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you clarity, discipline, meaning, or purpose wrapped in a neat little box. It's on you. Always has been. And I know that's a heavy thing to realize. It's not comfortable. It's not always encouraging at first. Because it means your future is not something to be discovered, it's something to be created. It means you don't get to blame your past forever. You don't get to outsource your suffering, your failure, or your stagnation to other people. Not if you're serious about getting better. But here's the gift, the glorious, powerful gift hidden inside that responsibility. You can change things. You can make something of your life, no matter how broken it feels right now. No matter how far off course you've wandered. You are not finished, you are not stuck, you are not beyond repair, but you have to want it, not casually, not conditionally, not in some vague, one day when I feel ready way. You have to want it seriously, deeply, with everything you've got. You have to look your current self in the eye and say, this isn't all I am. And this is not all I will be. Because here's the truth most people never face. You don't have to be extraordinary to start living differently. You just have to be honest. You have to be willing to look at the ways you're sabotaging yourself. Willing to stop pretending you don't know what you're doing wrong. Willing to accept that progress will be hard, boring, repetitive, and worth it. And yes, you'll mess up. You'll fail. You'll have days where you fall short, where you break your word to yourself, where you slide back into the old habits and wonder if any of this is even worth it. On those days, your mind will scream at you to give up, to go back to comfort, to drift, to stay small, but that's where you remember who you're becoming. You're not building a perfect life. You're building a real one, something rooted in truth, something worth waking up for. Something that doesn't just benefit you, but everyone around you. Because the impact you make when you get your life in order doesn't stop with you. It spreads, it shapes the people you love, the people you work with, even people you've never met. And over time, it starts to shape the world. This isn't about some grand, heroic moment where everything changes overnight. It's about the quiet, relentless discipline of showing up every day with a bit more clarity. A bit more courage, a bit more conviction, It's about writing a better story with your life, not waiting for one, writing it with your habits, with your choices, with your character. So the question becomes, are you going to keep waiting for things to change, or are you going to be the one who changes them? You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Start small, start messy, start now. Sit down, ask the hard questions, make a plan, commit to it, fail, adjust. And keep going. Don't stop. Because your future, your real future, isn't built in the moments where you feel strong. It's built in the moments where you decide to act, even when you don't. And that future, that meaningful life that's possible for you, it's not waiting at the finish line. It's waiting at the starting line. So take the first step. Not tomorrow, not someday, now.